How's it going, guys? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome back to a brand new Stargirl review. Now, this is for episode 5, and this is titled Hourman and Dr. Mid-Nite, and I thoroughly enjoyed this episode, and I think you can all kind of guess why. Honestly, whether you loved it or just enjoyed it on some level, that is because the new JSA is forming, and it was just really interesting seeing Hourman come into it. Well, the new Hourman, that is, the son of Rex Tyler, and that origin within itself was, I feel, a lot more emphasized upon than Dr. Mid-Nite, even though this episode was titled Hourman and Dr. Mid-Nite, the new Dr. Mid-Nite, Beth Chapel. Whilst I did feel for her quite a bit this episode, especially that scene at the party, which we'll get to all of that good stuff, this episode mainly leaned on those shoulders of Rick Tyler and his father and all of that stuff. But that's not to say that, of course, Beth Chapel won't have her highlights even more so than other characters in a future episode, especially when we see her wear the actual suit, which reminds me, we didn't even see Rick put on the suit. And there was so much other things in this episode to do with, obviously, Henry King Jr., Brainwave Jr., and he's really coming into his own. So, guys, we've got so much to go over today, even more things than what I just teased, and I really love that the ball is rolling more now than ever for Stargirl. And just for those of you who are fans of DC Universe, I know a lot of you watch this on the CW, since, CW can now distribute Stargirl, but obviously this is a DC Universe show. I have gone in depth with Doom Patrol. In my opinion, the DC Universe's best creation. Not that Stargirl obviously isn't great, but I'm just saying Doom Patrol is amazing. If you haven't seen it already, watch season 1, but there is a season 2 trailer out now, and I have done a breakdown for that. And even Cyborg, Jovan Wade himself, commented on it yesterday, and who knows, I might be able to get him on an interview for the channel, because I had a little bit of an exchange with him on Twitter, and it looks like that could be happening. So I guess kind of subtle flex there, but honestly, I just really want you guys to get into Doom Patrol Season 2 as well, since that is also coming out this month, June 25th, so we've actually got 2 DC Universe shows going on at the same time. But anyway, leave a like on this video if you do go on to enjoy it, everybody. Leave me your thoughts as always, but let's get into this right at the beginning of the episode with that 9-year flashback with obviously Rex Tyler. Well, we knew before from Pat Dukan saying to Courtney that something happened to him and his wife in an accident all those years ago, and I was just like, accident? Really? I don't think so. So we had him writing in his journal. There seemed to be a bit of a panicky situation where him and his wife had to leave their son behind. Throughout all of this, we've got an explanation that the ISA doesn't even know about Rex Tyler's son, so he got named to Rick Harris, and Matt, who is Hourman's wife's brother, has taken over as the father role. And yeah, he's not the best father figure, and he made that perfectly clear in that moment. He doesn't know how to raise a kid. But either way, long story short, they went to escape, and that's when Grundy came out of nowhere, and we got a very good shot of him. I hope I'm showing a good freeze frame of that moment. I hope I managed to get it. Obviously, it's very kind of quick CGI, and it was at night, the best way to kind of save money on things like that. But hopefully we actually get to see, I think they're saving that Grundy moment for where obviously he's being kind of kept in the lair of the ISA right now, but they will have a moment where we do see him, where they decide to spend a bit of that budget on like maybe a minute scene if we're lucky. But that's when we had the present day opening with Rick Tyler, and as I said, I don't really need to explain about his uncle. I would say quite a few words under the sun if I wouldn't get demonetized. He says you will never understand what you cost me, because his life would have been quite different in his mind, even like to a degree of being a millionaire. You can only imagine how that would make a kid feel growing up. I like that opening from Mike waking Courtney up wearing that Halloween mask. Is kind of reminiscent of Grundy. Kind of little teases that, don't worry, we're getting more Grundy in the future. And we had the dog this episode chewing the Stargirl suit, and that wasn't the only thing we saw from that dog, but I'll get onto that later. And they continued the search for the JSA, and that was mainly this episode. It was like a in-between thing to expand upon what will be happening later with the JSA truly formed, and that's what I was most looking forward to. I'm sure you guys as well, if you watched the promos for this, or if you just obviously expected that we knew we were getting the new JSA. And it was really a ride with Courtney trying to hire those new members, and one being deliberate, of whom is Rick Tyler, but Beth Chapel, this kind of unintended annoying at times to Yolanda and Courtney. But as we all know, that they obviously accept who she is going to become as well. Now, Pat says to Courtney that he sussed last episode, and I definitely think we all knew this, that William Zarek Joey's dad is the Wizard. Courtney brought up a point that I've even spoken about, like why would a villain kill another villain? And he more or less said how it is in terms of a villainous organization compared to that of like your hero version with the JSA or the Justice League. You know, the villains aren't exactly the most stable people. And Courtney mentions the Fiddler, which I was really hoping she would, because obviously, yeah, Yolanda and her spotted the Fiddler, who isn't actually the original Fiddler, which I pointed out in last week's review. And even Pat said that the Fiddler was a man. He was Irish, and, you know, we've even seen him in that Injustice Society massive painting in their lair. So we've got a little bit more to explore there, and also I will talk about the Injustice stuff at the end, because I did that last week. I want to get through all of the, you know, cohesive stuff with one story with the new JSA, and then we'll sum up the Injustice stuff this episode. Now, Courtney has the idea, like, this is kind of what is so charming about the show. There's moments that are absolutely ridiculous, but it's a bunch of kids becoming new JSA members. And what I'm on about is, you know, she's bringing all the JSA artifacts into high school. Like, could you imagine if something even bigger went wrong? Like the Green Lantern, it just gets in someone's hands. It's just all being shoved into a locker, and it blows my mind, but I love it at the same time. Now she's looking out for new JSA members with Yolanda, because they obviously can't fight the Injustice Society themselves, and, you know, they even point out Artemis Croc, which was awesome. If you didn't know already, you know, she's most notably Tigress, or, you know, if you watch Young Justice, you'll know who Artemis Croc is as well in that iteration. We may see more from her one day. I don't know, it could have just been a cool little Easter egg, but I wouldn't be surprised. You know, this show is probably going to go on for multiple years, so don't discount anything like that. And the whole time we had Beth following them, pretending to listen to music, and she knows there's more going on with them, to the point where they're superheroes. And then we had that Justin scene. Now I think I mentioned Justin in my last week's review, because people have been commenting and pointing out to me, hey, why aren't you talking about Justin? Who is that guy? There's something more going on with him. And he gave that little random comment saying, careful, there are dragons in the water. So yeah, that's definitely a hint to something that I'm sure a lot of you know about, but I don't want to give too much away. Now, as for the actual moment that got things moving in the episode for Rick, that's when he walks into Pat and Courtney, who are having car troubles, and he talks about the 66 Mustang that he's working on, one that he wanted to, you know, build like his father had, which, as we know, Rex, there's that photo in the journal and everything like that. And this, you know, as Pat seems to be quite the, you know, intuitive man, you know, he asks about the car, and he basically puts two and two together, you can tell. And that's when the hourglass glows, which, you know, wasn't consistent in the episode because it didn't glow at other times, but either way, it glowed and spelled out that there is more to this guy. And whilst that was happening, we can't forget that we had Beth Chapel on her own kind of hunt, and that's when she invites herself into Courtney's house, and, you know, she manages to get the Dr. Mid-Nite glasses from, yet again, the dog. That dog knows something is going on. Maybe he can equip the lantern whilst, you know, carrying it in his mouth. And for those wondering, will we be getting a new Green Lantern in the new JSA? Well, maybe we could have the freaking dog. This moment was really awesome, because obviously we got to see what it's like through the eyes of Dr. Mid-Nite, because when she put the goggles on, it analyzes everything from the type of paint on the wall to the temperature of the bath sheet that she has. And I just love when it scans the owl in Courtney's room, it has exclamation marks, you know, for owl. Like, it's like the goggles itself was very excited by that. And the AI system, it is Dr. Charles McNider himself. This is where Beth learns about how he lost his sight fighting the mob, you know, put on the mask and became Dr. Mid-Nite. And, you know, there's all kinds of things in this. There was even a little drop for Red B, because, you know, you can't give out a superhero name, because that was actually the death of him. He was a part of the All-Star Squadron, the Freedom Fighters, but his identity was exposed, and that's what got him killed. But this is where Beth came in very handy with those goggles, because it also just, you know, put the two and two together, or should I say the penny drops for Courtney about Rick Tyler, being that his real identity is Rick Tyler and not obviously Rick Harris. But does anyone else think in these moments that, you know, if they had kind of more common sense as well, like these goggles could tell Courtney who her real father is, or at least why the staff responds to her when it should only work for Starman, if you know what I mean? I don't know, like, you know, or it could scan the photo. I know the photo in her locket is a bit blurry because of time has had its course and degraded the photo a bit, but I'm telling you, those Dr. Mid-Nite glasses could shine a lot of truth, yet they haven't thought of it. I'm not hating, I'm just pointing out something that I can't help it, okay? I can't help it. But I love this moment as well with Pat's own suspicions. Even though this was going on with the kids, he heads to Rick's house, finds the car that looks very similar to the one that his old buddy Rex had, because obviously he has that photo as I mentioned, meets his uncle and just, yeah, he gives the carburetor to him and yeah, you know he's gonna sell it. But moving onwards, Courtney and Yolanda are following around Beth Chapel, and then Yolanda isn't impressed because they're like, seriously, like this is the new Dr. Mid-Nite? Like it's not like they're really being mean, but we all know how eccentric, but innocently eccentric, Beth Chapel is. She clearly isn't necessarily everyone's cup of tea. That even was apparent with Courtney's mum, just needing some time out to get on with the Halloween preparation because she was just talking and talking and talking. But this led all up to that moment with Cindy Berman, who was having a party, and this was really important because it very much so demonstrated Henry, who is blatantly getting his powers, or at least they're breaking through. The party is a bit too loud for him, he said, and that's because he's likely reading everyone's minds without realizing it. For example, when he walks out of the party, he says to Yolanda, like, what did you say? Because like he can clearly read her mind and hear what she's saying in her mind when she's looking at him, and yeah, you can only imagine the things that she's thinking about him. So he was just probably, wait, what did you say to me? I honestly can't wait to see where Henry's journey goes, just because he doesn't have to turn out like his dad. And I know, you could look at the comic books, but hey, it might be a bit of a complex journey for him, and I'm looking to see which sides he lands on. I think it could be easy for him, as I've mentioned before in previous reviews, for him to kind of think, well, screw you, you caused this to happen to my dad, which causes the anger and hatred for Stargirl when he finally comes out of his coma and all of that stuff happens. And we all know that Brainwave is just going to have a field day knowing the fact that his son's got powers. If you guys remember back to that scene where he says, what am I thinking right now? He really wants his legacy to carry on. I mean, for crying out loud, he named his son after him, so yeah. Oh yeah, and also quick note, we had a picture of Cindy's father, and I don't know if you noticed, but that's a very old photo, so it's just like, who is this man? And I don't want to give it away, but a lot of you have guessed it in the comments down below already as to who her father is. But yeah, be excited, guys. It's going to get interesting there. Now, this is when Courtney tells Rick about his father being Rex. Like, he was Hourman, and I really enjoyed where things went here, because for his character, it's not as like clear cut as it is for the others. Like, oh, I want to become a superhero. Let's stop the bad guys. Like, this guy has got some complicated issues. We had some more information from Beth Chapel saying it's science. Your dad invented the hourglass. It gave him super strength for 1 hour out of the day, and it only works for him because he's tied to his dad's DNA. Turns the hourglass over, and the hourglass's powers sort of engulf over Rick, and that's when we get some power experimentation. He literally crushes that keg barrel. He says, I'm not going to wear a costume, I'm just going to do my own thing. And even I thought, like, okay, so this is potentially dangerous. These are the repercussions, and they're extremely lucky, with the way things went, because if you just give these artifacts, if you will, to any guy, you can only imagine the damage that it can do. And as Yolanda said, like, you've just potentially made the biggest delinquent in the school, an unstoppable beast. But I do want to give some shout out to Beth Chapel as well, because as annoying as some people may find her, not only the characters but audience members, like we had that moment where she loves her parents so much because she doesn't really have any friends, and she spent all of her time with them, but now they're so busy. Like, I kind of felt for her in that moment where she was reflecting to the AI of the goggles, and I don't know, I just felt empathy for her. I felt bad, and I felt like it's been made even more obvious to her with clearly she's picking up on what Yolanda and Courtney are looking at her like. Probably everyone's just like, just go away. But that's all going to change, obviously, and she's going to have more friends outside her parents, and I'm looking forward to see where her journey goes with that. But this is where we saw Rick spotting his uncle, who was harassing a waitress in a diner, and he absolutely messes up his uncle's truck, which was a perfect demonstration of the power that the hourglass can grant him. Like, he completely impacts the side of it. Not only does it like move a lot, but that dent was deep, and that was awesome. But yeah, again, I need to stress, we didn't see the suit. We didn't see like a fully fledged kind of powered Beth Chapel or even Hourman this episode, so we've still got a lot of excitement to come there. I really can't wait to see them suit up, for example, as probably what you're seeing in the screen right now, and for things to really, like, if you're enjoying Stargirl right now, things are only going to get better by tenfold. Now, this is towards right at the very end of the episode. We had Courtney Wildcat go find Rick at his parents' tree, and he, this is where we dive into a bit more of like the issues that he's dealing with. He feels anger, it's kind of poisoning himself. I think a lot of people at some point in their life can relate to this character, and I have to say, I haven't mentioned this so far because I wanted to kind of reflect on all of it at the end in like a conclusion, but I'm really enjoying Cameron, Gelman, or is it Gelman? I'm sorry, I'm butchering the actor's name for Rick Tyler here, but I think he's doing a great job. I really like the casting here, and I really, really enjoyed this scene. I think it was probably my favorite in the episode because this is when Beth comes along because she realized at the party that it wasn't an accident. It was Solomon Grundy, obviously, as we saw in the flashback, who killed his parents, because at this point it was very dangerous. Things were piping up really bad because obviously Courtney was saying you can be a hero like your dad, Hourman is your choice. And this is when he's just like, be a hero like my dad. My dad's dead. And, Courtney's obviously just like, well, I can't really let you keep that hourglass because, you seem pretty unstable in a way. So it looked like a fight was about to break, and that would have been potentially very messy. So, obviously Rick Tyler's main motivation to join the new JSA is to get revenge. And obviously it's not for justice for him. It is revenge, and that can lead down a dark path within itself. And once again, that's why I find this character very compelling, because even though we're going to see him suit up now, he's technically a part of the new JSA, we're going to find an interesting journey with him as he moves along from this mission initially being about revenge, but to him eventually really subscribing to the idea of, being a hero, fighting for justice, rather than just understandable selfish motivations. But it's going to be an interesting story from Cameron, who is playing Rick Tyler. But man, that graphic of when the car was going through Rick and he was basically face to face with his parents wanting to touch them, that really got me. I'm sure it got a lot of you as well, like in the feels. But yeah, that's pretty messed up in a way to witness your own parents' death. And that was practically all the stuff with them. But once again, onto the Injustice stuff, there wasn't too much stuff at all. But we did get the Gambler, where of course he was watching that movie where that man brought him the blueprint of, all the All-56 broadcasting dish. He tells him where it's being transported. It's basically the satellite. And, it's kind of obviously to do with the Project New America. It pertains to the comics as well. But obviously, as I always say, if you've watched enough of my videos, I don't think it's going to be a cloned copy and paste from the comics to the TV show. There's going to be little twists here and there that they bring from super traditionalist canon to a change in the show. But either way, it seems to be following a certain storyline, and I can't wait to see how that pans out. But all of this pertains to the end of the episode where we had the truck driver who is stopped by the latest iteration of the Fiddler. Now, I love this scene because with the tune that the Fiddler was playing, it was also, annotating this other scene where we had Pat looking at Rex's journal with that Mustang picture in it. It then goes over to when Pat gets the car, to do a bit of work on it, which is, Rick's uncle's car, and he knows exactly what would cause that damage. And with that very ending scene, it looks like Pat has obviously realized that Courtney has been distributing out the JSA members, tools and artifacts to people, and he's just like face palming. But I love how the Green Lantern is kind of glitching out, glowing. That was awesome. I was hoping it would light up when he held it, but we only got a little peek at that glow in the bag. But either way, there's going to be some repercussions, but I think Pat is going to have to realize that no matter what, I can't really seem to control the situation. All I can do is try and help support Courtney as her sidekick and just try and take care of the situation and form a new JSA. I think he's starting to realize that she's relentless, but I'm still expecting a tiny little bit of a fallout. But yeah, quickly back to the Fiddler. The Gambler is there as well. We get a good demonstration of the Fiddler's abilities and how, the willpower just completely takes over that one truck driver, but then the other one was completely decimated by the Gambler and that little gun coming out of his sleeve. But other than that, we had a shot of the guy as well who delivered those blueprint plans for the satellite to the Gambler, who had eaten that little chocolate coin, which is just showing that all loose ends were tied up for the Injustice Society there. But that is overall kind of this episode, guys. For me, there's nothing really to complain about. I really enjoyed it. It's great seeing more of the characters actors who have just been in the background of the previous episodes actually get to show that their acting chops and their characters just on display for us all to get to learn and know about, and obviously become the new JSA members. Can't wait to see them suit up. Can't wait to see more from Beth Chapel as well. Obviously we got to see her utilize Dr. Mid-Nite's tech, but we still haven't seen what else she can do. I'm expecting to see more Injustice Society stuff next episode, more than what we have in the past couple of episodes, because even though we haven't been without it, and it's been nicely supplemented with everything else going on, we haven't had as much as what we have in the first couple of episodes. So it'd be nice to take another heavy dive into maybe what Icicle is up to next episode and other things like that. But ultimately for me, I think Stargirl, 5 episodes in, still continues to prove that it is going strong with little to no flaws. I mean, of course you can poke things in here and there, but what I mean by little to no flaws is that if you compare it to your other shows out there, it's of a much high caliber quality, and I think we're all enjoying the ride, and it seems to only be improving. So leave me your thoughts down in the comments below, everyone. Let me know if you have any theories, what you enjoyed most about this. What do you think of Cameron, who is playing Hourman? Did you enjoy his performance? Do you think it's a good casting? Same with Beth Chapel, since we got obviously quite a lot more from her this episode. But as always, guys, like the video if you did enjoy it. It really, really helps me out, so I really do appreciate it. Subscribe, of course, for more Stargirl videos like this, Doom Patrol, and everything like that. You can talk to me personally on my Discord server, over text or voice chat. I'm quite active in there. I love talking to you guys. The community is absolutely great. But yeah, until next week, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you, starlings, in the next video. Goodbye.